guys, it's always a little intro here. Today we are going to do something different. We have a collaboration video with the channel Legendary Tactics. And in today's video, we are going to talk about the best way to use your special development cards. So we have Flash here from the channel Legendary Tactics. How are you doing, Flash?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for inviting me. I've really enjoyed your content, and I'm looking forward to learning a bit more about this game with you. So my whole family's actually been really enjoying Catan lately, so I appreciate learning from a grandmaster on Catan universe.
No problem. I'm happy to help you. So the first statistic that you need to know before we start the top 5 is that there is a 20% chance to get a victory point card, an 8% chance to getting a Years of Plenty card, and a road building card, and a Monopoly card. So you have to know how likely it is that you get a special development cards.
Well, that explains why I don't get Monopoly cards very often, so very good to know. But why don't we start at tip number 5 then? What are your thoughts on the road building card?
Yeah, you use a road building card to block another player. Most other players will not expect you to have a road building card. It depends a bit on how good your opponents will be, but they will not see it coming most of the times. And in the early game, it's a very good card to have to go somewhere fast and to block someone and to get a good third settlement up.
I remember hearing that the designer of the game, Hans Teuber, says that he doesn't like to link his roads too early on, or he says it paints a target on his back. So would you hold on to this card for an ideal moment, or do you tend to get it out nice and quickly?
Well, I would say you don't have to hold on to it per se, but Hans Teuber, he is right. You don't want to pick up the longest roads if you don't need to, but if you can pick up a valuable spot that's open in the early game, it would be worth to use your longest road card.
So why don't we move on to tip number 4? So what's the best way that you would suggest using victory point cards, and when should you try for them?
You use victory point cards to surprise your opponents. As I said before, you have a 20% chance to get a victory point card. So if you see a lot of knights on the board and no close development cards in the other player's hands, that percentage will be even higher. So you can roughly calculate your chance on getting a victory point card. And it's actually the most efficient way to get a victory point. It will only cost you 3 resources. So for example, if you have 4 victory point cards, you only need to get 6 victory points out of your settlements and cities or largest army. So it will surprise the other players. Don't underestimate the value of victory point cards and use them to surprise your opponents.
You're right. In a game that only has 10 points to win the game, every single point really matters. So for tip number 3, can you suggest the best way and the time to use the Monopoly card?
Yes, well, there's so many great moments to use a Monopoly card, but we'll start with a good one. Probably not the best one, but a good one is to use your Monopoly card to snowball. For example, if you have 4 or even 6 wheat and you know that there is a lot of ore in the game, then you want to use that Monopoly card to get early cities up. Watch out though, because you will get a target on your back with your early cities. It's the same reason that Klaus Terber said, don't pick up longest roads too soon because people will see you as a threat. But it can really help you to snowball.
You don't want to unite the board against you too early. Better to sneak under the radar and come from behind.
Exactly. Yes, that's why victory points are so strong as well, victory point cards.
Yeah, and really, there's really no bad time for a Monopoly card unless nobody has cards in hand.
Well, I've seen some bad ones. I play a lot, but it's always useful. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. It sounds like you actually have to do quite a bit of card counting and keep track of who has what in your mind so that you know when to strike.
Yeah, that's true, but it sounds harder than it is. You don't have to count every card. You can keep an eye out for the resource that you are aiming for. So in my example of before, you have a lot of wheat, then you only have to keep an eye out for how much ore there is in the game. But yeah, it's true. Try to always have a rough estimation of what cards your opponents have in their hands. That's always useful.
Very good. That brings us to tip number 2, which is also related to the Monopoly card. And I believe you have a suggestion on how to maximize your return on the Monopoly card.
Yes. This one is kind of controversial, but it's a good way to use it, and it actually has a special name. It's called the Dirty Monopoly. So a dirty Monopoly means that before using your Monopoly card, you can trade the resources away that you will get back with your Monopoly.
Oh, that is dirty.
It works really good though. It depends with whom you are playing with, because with some players, they will not like it. They will. But it's a good play. So in that, let's take that same example that we used before. You have 6 wheat and you are looking for ore, but maybe you already have 2 ore in your hand and you know you will use your Monopoly card anyway. You offer your ore for a brick or something, you trade it, and then you use your Monopoly card to get all the ore on the board. And then you don't only have additional ore, you also have extra brick.
Wow,
So that's the dirty
that's amazing.
Monopoly.
That it's so clever and it's devious, but and I imagine after that they'll be a lot less inclined to deal with you, but I still love it.
When you have to, you'll do it. Sometimes you have to do it.
For sure, yeah. Well, I mean, the goal of the game is to win, right? So for those who contest this idea, that seems like a valid strategy to me, albeit maybe one that isn't that tasteful.
Yes.
So that brings us to your final tip then, number 1.
Yes. I think, as I said before, there are a lot of good ways to use your Monopoly card, but in general, it's always best to use your Monopoly card in the late game when there are a lot of cities up. And basically, when you get a Monopoly card, you want to analyze the board and you want to check, okay, what resources have double numbers or what resources have really high numbers, so high odds of being rolled. Then you wait until the late game when there are a lot of cities to those resources. And if you see that that resource is being rolled 2 or 3 times and the other players haven't used it, you will use your Monopoly and you can get 15 to 20 cards sometimes. And a really important thing with this strategy is make sure you have a good harbor as well. So let's take lumber, for example. If you have the lumber harbor, there is a 6 of lumber, an 8 of lumber, and a lot of 6 and 8 is rolled, and a lot of cities are adjacent to those 6 and 8, that's the moment you have to use your Monopoly card, and it can change the entire game.
Right. Now, just a clarification on this. Would you tend to go on a fishing expedition and try to get as many of a particular resource as possible? Or do you tend to target one resource that you need to finish a particular build? Which is the better option there?
It depends on if you have a good harbor. If you have a lumber harbor and you get 20 lumber cards, you can get 10 cards of whatever resource you desire. So sometimes it's you get the resource that you need. If you need a lot of lumber, you want to get longest road or something, then it's useful. But it's more like you check, okay, what resources are in an abundance on this board, and you will pick up that one, because if you have a 3-to-1 harbor, you can use it as well.
Very good. It sounds like you smile when you get the Monopoly card in hand. It seems like the one that you go for. So I do notice you haven't included the Year of Plenty card on your top 5 list, though. So I'd like to ask you about that. Do you have any additional thoughts on that card, or why you didn't include it on this top 5 list?
Yes, yeah. I have some thoughts on the Years of Development card. I love it. It's a really good card. But if you ask me what are the best ways to use a special development card, I wouldn't include the Years of Plenty card. But I want to give it an honorable mention. It's probably the most versatile development card because you can kind of use it as a road building card. If you are looking for a city, you can get 2 ore with it. So it's like a small Monopoly, a small road building card. So it's very versatile.
Right. Just gives you a little boost, not the huge boost that Monopoly can give you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you teaching me how to use all of these cards much more effectively.
No problem. I hope you can beat your family and your friends a little bit more now.
For sure. Well, the family always seems to beat me in the end, but I'll keep trying.
Yes. And to my viewers, be sure to check out Legendary Tactics channel. As I've said before, they make a lot of good Catan videos and a lot of different videos about great games as well. So be sure to check them out and like and subscribe this video if you have enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys next time.